Yo, what is up YouTube? I'm Blitz5, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about The Division. So it's a little late for me to do a review of this video. The game's been out for about 2 weeks, and then there was the beta before that. So pretty much everybody has a video about The Division. All of the major gaming YouTubers and websites and magazines have already reviewed this game, so you can find a review about this game anywhere on the internet, and I'm sure a lot of them are well done. I've even listened to a lot of them even after buying the game, just because I like to listen to people talk about gaming and The Division or whatever game I'm playing at the time. I like listening to people talk about it, so I figured I would do that video for anybody that was interested, or any of my listeners or followers. So if you're interested in that, stick around. If not, I will not mind. This might be a longer ramble style video, so you've been forewarned. But anyways, I don't really have a specific topic. I just want to talk about The Division and what I think about the game, maybe some overall pros and cons. I didn't want to do anything too serious. I'll probably throw in some different scenarios here in the background that you can watch. Hopefully keep it kind of interesting. The game is really fun to watch and play just because of how realistic and systematic it can be. Yes, like any video game, you can kind of just like run and gun if you walk into an area where there's lower enemies. But at the end of the day, when you're playing against enemies that are your skill level, you kind of have to play slow, even with like a team, because the enemies multiply and they get stronger when you're with a bigger team. So if you do the same mission with 4 people as you do with 1 person, you know there will be like 10 times the amount of guys, and it's a lot more difficult. And it's just, the game is just a lot of fun. It looks cool. It's probably one of the best looking games I've ever played that's like moment to moment in the game. There's a lot of video games that have looked good on the Xbox One, like in a cinematic or this one scene, but The Division overall, like just for how big the game is, has a lot of detail, and I'm really surprised sometimes that they went into so much detail. My friend and I were just talking, Fettuccine, Chris, that the map has so much detail in the subways, which are just such a small part of the map, and underground portions. Like, it's like a whole nother game in the subway, and it's crazy. I mean, that's how it is in real life if you're in Manhattan, but in the video game, just having that much detail and attention to detail in a subway, and that, you know, they had so many people probably programming this, it's a pretty big feat for a video game, and I really respect that portion of the game. It's awesome. I'm sure there's people, I'm not a graphics snob and I don't really look for certain things, but there's things, if you walk on the hood of a car, like you see your footprint sometimes if it's like snow on the car. A lot of details, like there's just so many little things. I'm like, I shoot this thing, I'm not expecting a response, and then that happens. And shooting at the glass is really nice. Just little noises like moving up against a car, the door closes and it sounds really good. So yeah, that aspect, even pulling out a pistol and shooting the pistol looks insane. And before I move on, I couldn't think of this a second ago, but when you're holding your gun, your finger actually isn't on the trigger. We found this out. And then when you hold L to aim down sights, your finger goes on the trigger. And when you have a heavy machine gun and you're shooting down the barrel actually starts to heat up like it would in real life and has like an orange tint to it. And that happens when you shoot a heavy machine gun for so long. It gets so strong that, you know, so hot that's why a lot of those big machine guns have like the holes in them to release air, and they have to do all this stuff, and they have to wait before shooting because the gun overheats. And some guns can like melt if you keep shooting them for too long. The barrels will actually melt in real life, and The Division does an insane job of capturing all that stuff. So that aspect saves this game from a lot of the repetitiveness, because sometimes I'm just like walking through a mission and I'm having a lot of fun. Like, I find myself kind of buying in to the strategy of the game, where like I want to stay behind cover, because you do take a lot of damage when you get shot, and there's limited ammo, there's limited med packs, everything's pretty limited. Unfortunately, sometimes in the missions there are a lot of resupplies, which I said would be more interesting if there wasn't, but I haven't played the game on hard. And I know I'm kind of jumping around on topics here, but another reason why I didn't want to do a review is I'm only about halfway through the game, and that's just the standard portion of the game. Obviously, these MMOs, RPGs, the game doesn't, you know, they always say the game doesn't really start till you hit the max level, kind of like World of Warcraft or whatever. So I'm only level 15, the max level is 30 for right now, and who knows, that might get, you know, they might expand on the levels, you know, in later expansions. So I'm only about halfway through the leveling process, but I can't really give you a great hour count to how much I've played, because I've left my Xbox on a couple times. There's a lot of zones where you can kind of just stand and I'll go eat dinner, because I don't feel like logging out and logging back in, because some of the load times are really bad, going from area to area. That's one thing that's a little bit annoying, is sometimes you're like, oh man, I could just fast travel here, but by the time it loads and then I get out of the safe house I'm fast traveling to, I probably could have just ran there. So that's one part that's a little bit annoying, but the map is so big and realistic, I guess, you know, that's first world problems. It takes a while to load a game that looks really good. So it's hard to really complain about that too much. but I've seen and heard other people complain about it, and I think it's a fair thing to say, but it doesn't really bother me that much when I'm in the game. But it does make me not want to log out, like I said, like when I go eat dinner or whatever. But the gameplay and all that stuff is a lot of fun because, like I was saying, things are somewhat limited. And as I mentioned, I haven't even played hard or any of these modes, and I think there's modes even above and beyond hard. And even then, when you're playing with 4 people, it's really cool, and you actually have to talk to each other and use certain abilities at different times. So everybody has, like, you hold 2 main weapons and a pistol, then you start off with 1 ability, then you unlock 2 that you can you can assign to left bumper and right bumper. And I don't know if we're going to be able to have more than 2 abilities later on. But for an example, like somebody might have a radar that they have to have, or a pulse radar that, shows who's in the building with you or who's on the floor. It's like a designated area, but basically it usually covers like the whole entire floor. So having somebody with a pulse is really nice. Having somebody with, like, there's a sticky grenade that's like a rocket launcher, a grenade launcher is really nice. Then there's somebody who could just throw down like a med pack that heals everybody in the area. And then there's like the riot shield, which I've been using, which most people don't use, but that's really fun because you get to use your pistol with the riot shield, and it actually defends you for a while, or stay strong for a while on the arm. I'm like actually physically showing like a riot shield right now, but you guys can't see me. Like I'm pretending to hold up a riot shield. So the gameplay is really cool, and then this just goes back to like old Tom Clancy. These style games, it almost plays like Rainbow Six or like a Ghost Recon for like it has like a hint of that Ghost Recon style gameplay. Like I was explaining to someone, I'm like, imagine playing Ghost Recon in Manhattan, but like post-apocalyptic world. That's kind of what The Division is. And it's really fun. And to anybody saying that the game is repetitive, every MMORPG is repetitive. Every game is repetitive to a certain extent, but you have to find the value in the game for you to keep playing. A lot of times for me, I only find value in playing multiplayer games because I'm leveling up like Call of Duty. Then once you get to the max level, you can prestige. I view it as like playing basketball on the weekends. If I play a couple games of Call of Duty, I'm like stretching my gaming muscles, get like 40 kills, try not to die that many times. That's a great game. And then I also post it to YouTube, which keeps me incentivized to play video games. Plus, I really like doing them. It's part of my hobby. So I'm not a huge single player fan, but this game, you're leveling up. There's some multiplayer Dark Zone aspects, which I haven't gotten into yet, but the whole co-op is amazing. I know most people, including myself, I love co-op. Co-op is like the best thing ever in video games. That's like why I play video games, is to play with your friends. And this just does that really, really well. And it's a lot of fun. And there's so much to do in the game that sometimes it's overwhelming at times when you hit start and you don't even know what's going on. They don't really do a great job of explaining everything. There's so many things. There's like weapon skins, weapon mods. There's like 8 different weapons mods. Like what kind of clip? So when you pick up a gun off the ground, it's not just like this gun's better than my gun. You look at it like, what kind of gun is it? Is it a sniper rifle? Is it a machine gun? What's the clip size? Does it have any bonuses attached to it? All guns have bonuses, and depending on how you've built your character, you can activate these bonuses or not. So if you become like a really strong, like you're focusing on damage, and this gun is like better for people who have armor, then you might not want to have that gun. Then on top of that, you can put in a scope, you can put in a grip, you can put in a clip, magazine, whatever you want to call it. There's so many different things. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but luckily in the beginning of the game it doesn't really matter. You just put on whatever's the best and you can keep deleting all your armor. But as we go, like I'm halfway through, I'm level 15, I actually have to think about like, all right, this armor has a little bit more of this, even though it doesn't have as much armor actually. The other one has more armor, like say like talking about like a bulletproof vest or whatever. This vest has more armor than the other one, but the other one has a better grenade launcher damage, and I use the grenade launcher. So I don't want to make it annoying for anybody that hasn't played the game or keep ticking on about that. But I guess you guys could assume you guys are probably gamers. You know what it's like. There's just a lot of details, which, depending on what you're looking for, could be good or bad. But for me, it's just the right amount of keeping it different, and it's fun switching between the games. Some of the guns are awesome in this game. They're really, really, really sweet. And me being like a military fan and Call of Duty fan, I love when I pick up a gun like a SCAR or an ACR, which I've like shot in real life, or these nice pistols, M9s. Like, having a realistic game is fun if you're a gun enthusiast. I don't own guns, but I've shot guns many times. So it's fun picking up these guns, and you see them in Call of Duty and in the military and on TV, and it's just really awesome and they look dope. They look really sweet, and a lot of the things like I was saying before. But some negatives about the guns, that the submachine guns and shotguns are super out of place in this game. I won't get into super detail, but basically the main reason why is because of the range and clip size. Something is just so off about that hopefully there's little things that they can balance on later in the game. So that's it, I guess, for the background of the Division. The missions are really fun. The enemies are kind of repetitive. They're decently smart, which is nice. They all look the same. That's why they're repetitive. How they act isn't super repetitive. Some kind of stay back, some kind of go up. You can kind of manipulate around the enemies, and that's why a lot of the guns get, your focus on guns is mostly range because you just stay really far away, which I guess is debatable, like whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. When you play a game like this, a game that's revolved around weapons, like guns, and an MMO where it takes like MMO RPG style gameplay, where it doesn't just take 2 shots to kill somebody, you're not going to get up close to somebody. We don't have swords. We're not going to get up close to somebody. You're just going to immediately die. So that's kind of why, again, those short-range weapons suck. So the gameplay can kind of get a little stale, but there's so many different things like the grenades and abilities and kind of coordinating with your team and having to move around the map that keeps the game fresh. And to me, has a lot of fun with like these abilities and putting down a turret or whatever. So the game so far for me, halfway through, I'm not tired of the missions. I actually want to get on the Division right now and play as I'm thinking about it, because I've been doing a lot of the side quests. So there's so much to do, and the side quests aren't super annoying to me the way they're put in the game. They're not like run here and fetch this and fetch that. They kind of mix it up, and there's actually a lot of like these things I just call like parkour missions, where it's like get to this area and it's almost like kind of like a maze. You're on these rooftops and stuff like that. Kind of breaks up the game a little bit, which makes it nice. For some reason, maybe because I'm only halfway through and it's still kind of like the honeymoon phase of this game, the fetch quest, like I said, they're not really fetch quests, but I'm gonna say the side missions haven't got me like super pissed off yet. A lot of times, like, and I can hardly play a Grand Theft Auto game anymore because I'm so burnt out on all the side missions from playing that game since I was like in middle school. Like, I just can't handle playing Grand Theft Auto side missions anymore. The game and the story is awesome, but it's just like, it irks me inside to just like follow somebody around in a car and do all that kind of stuff. And so this is interesting because it's an RPG that's cooperative and it's done right, and it's with weapons. I mean, pistols and machine guns. So it's an interesting. They're all done with weapons, obviously, duh. But this style in the modern era is interesting. And I have a connection to Manhattan because I work in Manhattan. I live nearby, and I know all the streets. So saying like, hey, dude, there's a gun battle. Like, oh, there's enemies on West 31st Street, or we're going to this mission in Chelsea. It's so dope. We're walking around Chelsea, and I recognize like all the areas. And it's not like 110% Manhattan, but there's some streets where they literally have like the famous pizza place in Manhattan, and in the game it's called like something pizza, and the store looks exactly like it. So some of the landmarks, stuff like that, they did really, really, really well. And unfortunately right now they only have the midtown of Manhattan. So basically Manhattan has a lot of different areas, but just the middle of Manhattan is unlocked. So the top part of Manhattan and the bottom part aren't. And that was kind of a bummer, because I kind of wanted to see the other parts that, I'm also familiar with, and they're not there. So I'm hoping that those come out in later games, later expansions, I mean. But then we get to this topic of like, what are these MMORPG nowadays? Like Destiny, this game keeps getting compared to Destiny all the time. What are these games like nowadays? Like, is every game just an RPG that's lasts forever? Basically, all games are becoming RPGs because they extend the life of the game through other content. Games are all about customization, paying for content, all this stuff. Even like Call of Duty, there's DLC maps all year long. You're like kind of more in touch with your character. It's not like you're just hopping into a multiplayer battle. You have like a character and all this stuff and weapons, and you design your weapon in the Division, in this game, in that game. And like, when does this end? This game would have just been awesome being like a really long cooperative game and then maybe having some PvP in it. It didn't need to be this MMORPG, and I guess that's the point. Like, Rainbow Six is the game that's multiplayer, and the Division is going to be the cooperative RPG, last forever game. But the thing is that when you have these gaming companies that are putting out these titles, like that, Tom Clancy has its name behind so many things, just like Bungie and Activision or whoever. There's so many different companies now, like they sold the rights that did Destiny. I guess it was Activision, right? It was Activision, but they own Bungie now. Bungie was under Microsoft, but now it's under Activision. And yeah, 343 does Halo. Bungie does Destiny, even though they are the same fucking thing. They look the same, like, and they're both called like they have Destiny in their name or whatever. They all fuck Spartan people. It's like the same shit. Let's just admit it. It is. They look a lot alike. When they're backed by these gaming companies that do all these other things, and there's so many games, you can't just have like World of Warcraft exists because that game. Well, first of all, it came out a really long time ago, but that's like Blizzard's one of Blizzard's main games, and they put so much effort into it, and that kind of environment like lives on PC. I know there's like EverQuest that was like on PlayStation or whatever, but when you have games that are coming out like every year, like I want to move on. But Destiny was awesome. There wasn't enough content at launch. I actually think that this game is better at launch. I haven't made it to the end, but Destiny was more creative. Let's just say it right there. Way more creative, but Destiny was bullshit content-wise. You ran the same cave over and over again, and the only reason why I played it because it was something new. It was super creative. There's aliens, so they could do whatever they want. They could do crazy missions and crazy weapons that don't make sense. But this game, content-wise, and just like the stability of the overall game, and it doesn't feel repetitive at all for me, is Tom Clancy Division takes the cake. It's like the whole island, the whole mid part of Manhattan is available. I haven't had to go to like the same area multiple times other than like my base. I haven't gone down to the same subway doing the same mission 15 fucking times like the Destiny or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're both kind of the same. They're kind of like these half-assed, like the beginning of a World of Warcraft game that's never gonna last. How is the Destiny? I'm getting all confused now with all these different games. Destiny was supposed to be. When they launched that game, they wanted it to be like a 20-year game or 10-year game, but then they were like being realistic and saying like, we hope this is a 3 to 5 year game, because I think they realized that like it's not going to be World of Warcraft, but only like a select group of people are going to still be playing Destiny. I think most gamers are like me, where they get the game, they might play it for a couple months with their friends, and then as the months go by, their friends get off the game. One friend gets off, the second friend, the third friend, and then only like the hardcore people that are left playing the game, and they really enjoy it. And so did I. I really enjoyed Destiny 2, but then I moved on to another game because that's how the console cycle has always been. And a lot of times people don't want to stick around and wait. And then when you don't have a game that's perfect, you're not going to wait, and all of the games in 2016 are not being released being perfect. Not even close to perfect. Perfect is just like an analogy for the game is finished. Games don't even launch finished anymore, let alone completed, because they're saying like, oh, DLC is going to come, and they're rushing the game out. And Ubisoft just made like a bunch of different games. Like, how could they really make this perfect when they just made 3 other games and they only have X amount of people working at their studio? The gaming industry is already known for like overworking their employees and kind of screwing them over. And a lot of times, all the hate from these studios is actually in the wrong direction. It's the publishers that force these studios to do this kind of stuff. I'm sure the people who are actually making the Division love video games and want to do it, but at the end of the day, they probably start to hate it because they're forced to do certain things not the way they want to on a time. And that's kind of the downsides of working at a corporate company. But anyways, I digress into all that stuff. I just wanted to talk about all of these different things that are going on with the Division. In conclusion, to kind of wrap things up, to kind of get the arrow back on the Division and get my mind back on track. The Division is a really fun game. Is it the best game ever? It's tough to say like that anymore about any game, because it's not like games aren't what they used to be anymore. It's not like this legendary game that people are going to play for years. The timeline for games is just shortened down so much. It's hard to say, but this game feels really, really good. I'm addicted to playing it. It's been a while since I've felt like hopping on a game, playing it all the time. The mechanics are really well done. It looks like they actually did test this game to some degree, even despite what people think. The only issue is longevity. I feel like once I get to level 30, I am done with this game. So for most people, that's like a do not buy. This game blows. But for me, the cooperative part of the game, just having fun, is great, but it does suck to think that, hey, I'm going to be playing this game for nothing I don't know why I'm even investing my time in it. Sometimes I can think that way, but Destiny is kind of like the topic right now. And I mean, The Division is kind of like the topic right now in gaming. It's kind of like the fad. Like, it's the fad of the end of winter, springtime game. And there's not a lot of other games going on. And to kind of be part of the community and make these YouTube videos, I have to kind of play these games and get in on it. And the addition of my friends playing is fun. And at the core of it, like I said, that's why I play video games, is to have fun with my friends and community. And that's what I'm into. So I can kind of, I don't know the great word. I can kind of just like make that normal, or kind of, I don't know why I can't think of a good word for this. But I can kind of justify. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I can justify playing The Division because all my friends are on, and it's literally insane amounts of fun playing it. And I feel like I'm in like a very strategic battle, like Rainbow Six, like Tom Clancy should be, and it's in a familiar setting, and it just plays really well. But in the long run, I don't know why I'm playing this game. I'm not going to be committed to it for over a year. I'd highly doubt if you see me playing this game past the summer. Even past the end of the spring, let's say the end of like May or June, I don't know if I'll be playing this game. But right now, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. And I guess it all depends on the DLC and if my friends will still be playing this game. At the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to, is community for me. Let me know what you guys think. Sorry, this was a long video, and I went around and kind of stumbled here and there. But that's what happens when I said I was just going to ramble on. I didn't want to have too many things, like think about too many things before saying or recording this video, because I've just been thinking about Destiny when I'm at work. I'm like, I want to go home. The Division, not Destiny, sorry. Two similar titles. I was just thinking about The Division at work. Like, I want to go home and play The Division, but I want to kind of express what I think about the game. I don't want to make a formal review because it's not fair to do that yet. It's too early on in the process, and I think a lot of people put their reviews out probably too early, and I don't have the time to put in 50 hours to the game outside of work and life to get a review out in the first week, on top of I didn't get the game on time anyways. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, please give it a like. If you did, if you play The Division and you want to game it up with me, please let me know. I play Xbox. You can add me. And as always, I'm Blitz5. Peace out.